sycophants for Washington. But we will see. Benny Gantz leaving the Netanyahu government in Tel Aviv is of greater significance to world events. The situation now in Israel is so febrile you could cut it with a knife. The hundreds of thousands who are out demonstrating practically nightly for the downfall of Netanyahu and for a new election, to pick a new government, to take a new policy towards freeing the hostages and repairing their ruptured relations with the United States, is now unstoppable. And Gantz has read the room. He's decided to leave Netanyahu before the public left him. And this is of grave significance for Netanyahu, because as everyone now knows, if you are a regular on the mother of all talk shows, this is edition number 350, by the way. Big congratulations to all my colleagues and to all of you in the audience. 350 episodes under our belt. But if you are a regular, you already know that losing office means losing liberty for Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a convicted criminal whose imprisonment has only been stayed because of the partial immunity that he enjoys as Prime Minister. When he's no longer Prime Minister, he's no longer free to walk the streets of Israel. He'll have to flee to the United States and seek asylum, or disappear behind bars, as several of his predecessors have already done. Now, I wouldn't like you to have the impression that these hundreds of thousands on the streets to get rid of Netanyahu want a more humane policy towards the Palestinians. That's very definitely not true. I wouldn't like you to think that Benny Gantz would be any better than Benjamin Netanyahu, because that is very definitely not true. In fact, you could make a case that Netanyahu is the least extreme member of his current cabinet. Just think about that. The situation in Gaza yesterday went from bad to worse. The worst day of the war was yesterday. In the middle of a British general election, in the middle of an American presidential election, the policies of both American and British governments towards the conflict in Gaza are right at the center of public discourse, if not media discourse, in the election in both countries. 274 refugees in the Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza. 274 people were killed. 75% of them women and children. They were murdered by gunfire or by bombs. The Israeli Air Force flattened the camp with bombs, and a group of Israeli commandos who came in via the United States pier that they built for humanitarian purposes in Gaza were smuggled in under the cover of being aid. The trucks came in purporting to be full of food and medical supplies for the stricken, famine-stricken, ailing people of the Gaza Strip. But in fact, they were filled with Israeli gunmen who dismounted from the trucks and massacred everyone that they saw. They massacred small children, they massacred bigger children, they massacred women, they massacred men. They massacred anybody, everybody that they saw. And the death toll is only half of the story. 274 were killed, but 700 were wounded, maimed, many of them forever. I just saw a figure that 16,000 Palestinian children have died in the last 8 months at the hands of the Netanyahu murder gang. But twice that number, 32,000 Palestinian children have had their limbs amputated. And I've now just saved on my phone a picture the likes of which I never imagined that I would see. A small Palestinian child in Gaza, dead in the mouth of a dog. The dogs are feasting on the bodies in Gaza. And what a feast they had yesterday. I'm spending more time than usual on that point for this reason. I have watched the British media, and I understand the American media is even worse. I've watched the British media on this all day, and every single outlet has treated what happened in Nusrat camp yesterday as a triumph, as a kind of raid on Entebbe, as a kind of adventure story. When in fact, it was an act of criminal lawlessness, illegal under every article of war, illegal under the Geneva Conventions, illegal under the laws against crimes against humanity. This use of firepower from the air and from the land, killing and maiming the best part of 1,000 people to rescue 4 hostages, is an extraordinary indictment on our own media and on the Israeli state itself. But here's the rub. Even if they don't care about the Palestinian blood that was shed in oceans yesterday in a refugee camp where everyone in it is a responsibility of the so-called international community under international law, the ocean of Palestinian blood wasn't mentioned, but neither was the fact that the Israeli terror gang also slaughtered 3 other hostages. They murdered 274 people, maimed 700 people, and murdered 3 of their own hostages, one of them an American citizen. This has been completely blacked out of the media coverage of this event. It's being treated as a kind of Super Bowl event, when in fact it is a war crime. It is a war crime to kill hundreds of people, to recapture 3 of your own, 2 of whom were Israeli soldiers. Most of you have been led to believe that these Israeli hostages were young women just strolling down the street. 2 of the 3 were Israeli soldiers, prisoners of war. And the 3rd was the chief security officer at the Nova Music Festival, which was a target in the end for the Palestinian resistance groups when they broke out of the concentration camp on October the 7th. And many people were killed there. Many of them were killed by the Israeli forces themselves. Many, no doubt, were killed by the organizations, not just Hamas, but many organizations involved in that concentration camp breakout on October the 7th. So the 3 that they rescued were all security people, 2 of them military prisoners of war. The 3 who they killed included an American tourist with an American passport in their pocket. And the American government has hailed the operation as an unqualified success. And nobody gives a toss about the 1,000 Palestinian refugees, 1,000 who were either murdered or maimed in that attack. And therein lies the problem.
Hey guys, there's an extension to the video that I just shared with you, but I can't show it on the Chosen One's controlled media called YouTube. So you're going to have to go to my BitChute channel, which is Old Religion Dystopia, Knowing versus Belief, or the Loosh Farm. .org. I'll leave a link for you to get in there, and you can see the horrors of what this cabal of psychopaths that are totally brainwashed and Sorry about the mess in the background, but I wonder if my trees are ever going to survive. I might have to get some more plastic plants. My son is the room that has all the sunlight, believe it or not. Even though it's pretty sunlight right now. Anyways, back to this. Go check out my BitChute channel, because that's one of the few platforms out there that you actually have free speech. You definitely don't have it on YouTube. And you need to know what's going on. Believe me, you need to know what's going on. Once again, mainstream media and our government and the oligarchs are lying as usual to us. And you need to know the truth about what's going on.